Well, thank you very much for attending today's Euromind event, the platform where I have intended to bring the scientific and the political sphere closer together. Climate change is one of the world's main problems. There is solid evidence on the role of CO2 emissions as regards to the greenhouse effect. I will cite just two. In 1859, John Tyndall demonstrated that the presence of traces of CO2 or water vapor in a tube gas mixture significantly increased its temperature. Moreover, more recently, data from NASA satellites show that the Earth emits heat or radiation in all wavelengths except the ones absorbed by CO2. CO2, as well as water vapor and other molecules, absorb radiation, contributing to an increase in temperature and climate change. From here, it follows that the more CO2 there is in the atmosphere, the more the temperature will increase due to the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect has a very necessary regulatory function. Without molecules that cause the greenhouse effect, the ice will be below freezing, and the days burning, as we see on planet Mercury. With too much CO2, the planet could become a hell like Venus. Life on Earth, therefore, requires a balance between these two extremes. If the problem of climate change was reduced to the realm of the natural science, it would be resolved. It is, however, a much more complex issue. Much of the increase in atmospheric CO2 is due to economic activity. As fossil fuels are so cheap, their consumption have allowed more and more individuals to live a situation of extreme poverty. It is the main remedy for poverty, and that explains the increase in life expectancy around the world. And that problem, and that people are living better and better. The problem of climate change is therefore not unique to the natural science, but also concerns the economy and, of course, politics. In social science, there are no unique solutions, nor are these perfect. For example, there is a choice to criminalize the use of fossil fuels, but this decision is at the expense of the most vulnerable individuals in society and also in developing countries. For this reason, the political debate is essential and necessary. It is a debate that has been completely absent in the European Parliament. How is it possible, for example, that there has not been a single political initiative on nuclear energy, despite the role it could play in solving this problem? Despite the stakes, the debates are more about emotions than about reasons. See, without going any further, the ecological catastrophe, whose preachers are getting to the point of using children to mobilize the crowds. If we accept that this is a serious problem, I do not understand why it is intended that children are the only ones who can legitimately express themselves. Another less subtle way to prevent debate is to throw the accusation of climate skeptics or negationists to anyone who questions political decisions. Certainly, there are individuals like US President Donald Trump who think that global warming is a hoax created by China to destroy their country's economy. During recent days, I have received messages from people outraged for having invited Dr. Lomborg and calling him a climate skeptic. I can already tell you that he is not. So all those who have come here because they feel insulted and want to express their indignation have come to the wrong place. As I said, there is no point in questioning the facts. In my years as an MEP, I have found that the European Parliament lacks some interest in scientific opinion. Most politicians have given little credence to advice from European scientific agencies and from the rest of the world advocating that genetically modified organisms are completely safe, nor do they take any notice of the scientific guarantees offered by certain pesticides, if, for ideological reasons, they have decided that they should be banned. I wish to make this one clear. Dr. Lombard's views do not represent my political group ALDE's position on climate change. I must add that Dr. Lombard's position does not necessarily represent our own position either as organizers. To be frank, the idea that we must invite only ideological friends or people who completely agree with us on certain issues is frightening. Political correctness is killing the debate of ideas, even within self-proclaimed liberals. Today could well be Euromind's final event in the European Parliament. I'm not running again. I understand that our last guest represents a challenge. We are not going to be here the next legislature, but we invite the newcomers to keep promoting real and fearless debate. Finally, I'm delighted to give the floor to my good friend Alejo Vidal-Quadras. He is a former MEP, he was Vice President of the European Parliament, and is also a retired professor of atomic and nuclear physics. Alejo will act as moderator. I think that nobody is better for this job. Adelante.